Single dad's incredible act of kindness revealed little girl's touching wish changes everything. Jake stepped through the door, fatigue etching lines on his worn face, but the moment he saw Emma, he felt a flicker of hope. The living room, with its soft light and walls plastered with her colorful art, held memories far richer than any dollar amount he struggled to earn. The weariness of working 2 jobs melted away when her big, bright eyes lit up with glee. Each day melted into another with him juggling time and money like an impossible game of catch. Emma, his spirited 7-year-old, tapped her pencil on the table, deep in thought over her latest masterpiece. "Daddy, can we go camping? Just you and me?" Her innocent smile broke his heart. It was such a simple wish, but every flicker of hope inside him dimmed under the weight of reality. The bright camping trips with s'mores and stars were a luxury Jake couldn't afford, and each time it stung like a fresh wound. Yet, the least he could do was listen to her dreams. "Sure, baby," he said, forcing a smile, unable to admit to her that his paycheck barely covered bills, much less a weekend in nature. But Emma had more determination than he anticipated. Her heart was as vast as the sky. "Let us help others too. We can raise money for a camping trip and help buy winter coats for kids." At that moment, a spark ignited in Jake's chest. What they could do together was bigger than just one wish. They started planning the fundraiser the very next day. As they sketched out ideas on bright paper, Jake marveled at her vibrant imagination. Their home buzzed with excitement, building a connection that he thought was lost. This time, hope filled the air with every whispered dream, then disaster struck. Just days before the event, their main sponsor had coldly backed out. Panic bubbled up inside Jake, the disappointment a heavy cloak of despair draping over him. Would Emma's dream fizzle away just as it had come alive? As he sank into the couch, his heart sank lower. "Dad? Are you okay?" Emma's small voice broke through his thoughts, perched beside him with those curious, bright eyes. Tears threatened behind his own as he questioned his own ability to be the father she deserved. Before he could respond, she boldly declared, "We're not alone. Look at all our neighbors. They love us. They'll help, I just know it." A glimmer of warmth spread through Jake as her words wrapped around his heart. Determined, he reached out to the community, sharing their plight with neighbors and customers at his second job. They rallied around him, surprising him with kindness he never expected. As the fundraising day approached, though, yet again disaster loomed. Another setback threatened their efforts, tugging at the fragile thread of hope they had spun together. Staring at their modest living room, Jake felt strangled between despair and duty. Had he let down Emma, and all their dreams along with it? Every heartbeat echoed the question: would he find a way to piece their dreams together again? Would they rise above the ashes of disappointment and forge ahead? The community's cheers drifted in the background like whispers of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jake stood at the brink of another failure, little did he know that the community's love and unity would soon bestow upon him a lifeline. With all that they had built together riding on the line, Jake must find that last spark of resilience hidden deep within him. What would they face next, and could their story of perseverance take a twist of fate that surprised even them? The days leading up to the fundraiser felt like a tightrope walk, each step trembling with uncertainty. It was dawn, and Jake clutched a steaming mug of coffee, his mind racing as he skimmed through the countless flyers they had crafted. They had poured their hearts into them, bright colors, bold letters. Each flyer a small piece of hope cast into the world. "Hey, Daddy!" Emma's voice chimed from the kitchen, interrupting his spiral of thoughts. She was perched at the table with a stack of cookies she had decorated with rainbow sprinkles. "Look what I made. These are for our friends." Her precious smile and the flower smudges on her cheeks nestled something deep within him. "They look amazing, Emma." "Just like you," he replied, crouching down to catch a glimpse of her intricate designs. "I want them to be sweet like my wish. The kids will love them." She beamed, her enthusiasm brightening their dim kitchen. Exhaling slowly, Jake marveled at her unyielding belief in magic, even in the face of hardship. He took a comforting sip, feeling gratitude surge as he watched her, his little miracle delighting in the most simple pleasures. It struck him then, their predicament was not just his alone. It was theirs, a shared burden wrapped in laughter and hope. As the day unfolded, Jake and Emma prepared for the event. They spent hours plastering the neighborhood with their flyers and inviting friends and neighbors. A small, tight-knit community formed around them, an unexpected army of support. Each conversation brought forth encouraging nods and assurances. Community members rallied to donate items for the bake sale, and more than a few promised to come by to lend a hand, but his heart clenched again with the familiar weight of apprehension. What if it wasn't enough? What if they failed? The ghosts of doubt clawed at Jake's mind like an insistent whisper. He felt the urgency to protect Emma from disappointment, but at the same time, he couldn't let go of the glimmer of optimism that had ignited. Their fundraiser day arrived, sun casting a warm glow over their small front yard transformed into a mini festival. Children's laughter floated alongside the sweet scent of baked goods and the sound of cheerful chatter. Jake watched as Emma weaved through the crowd, her excitement contagious. She was silly, naive even, but she was also the brightest presence amongst them, not just in the way she could pull a laugh, but in how she genuinely cared for others. Just as customers began to fill the makeshift stands, Jake felt his breath hitch when the door swung open, and their neighbor Mr. Andrews, an elderly gentleman with a warm smile, trudged inside pulling a cart behind him. Jake's heart raced as he saw it was filled to the brim with warm winter coats. "I heard about your plans, son. These will help keep kids warm." He smiled wide, his voice echoing kindness that sent a shiver of warmth through Jake. Looking around, Jake saw other familiar faces, neighbors, friends, and strangers alike. They joined together, laughter piercing through his earlier worries, filling him with a profound sense of belonging and gratitude. All that worry tangled inside him began to unravel, but as the day progressed, just when everything seemed to peak, a flicker of panic struck. The cash box was tampered with, they had lost a significant amount of the donations. The joy he felt moments earlier began to slip. How could he explain this to Emma? Closing his eyes, he steadied his breath, but uncertainty rippled through the crowd as they whispered and glanced at one another, unsure of what to do next. In that charged moment, Jake realized he wasn't alone. Their journey had lit a fire within their neighbors, and pushing through the weight of despair could lead them somewhere miraculous. But the question lingered: could they overcome this setback together? Would Emma's dream stay alive against the odds? With a new resolve to rally his community as they had rallied for him, Jake stood at the edge of what felt like a tipping point, determination surging in his chest. Next, he would need to muster all the courage he had left to keep their dream alive. What he didn't know was that an unexpected offer would be waiting just around the corner, one that might change everything yet again. Jake felt a mix of dread and determination. The whispers in the crowd were like needles, pricking at the fragile hope he had been clutching. He pushed down the wave of panic building inside him. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about Emma and everyone who believed in their little venture. "All right, everyone," he called, his voice surprisingly steady despite the turmoil inside. "Thank you so much for your support. We had a little hiccup, but we're going to turn this around." A few heads turned, their expressions hopeful but wary. Emma appeared by his side, her cookie-decorated fingers clasped nervously. She looked up at Jake, concern clouding her bright eyes. "Daddy, is everything okay?" He knelt down, taking her small hands in his. "It will be. Together, we're going to make sure everyone still has a great time and understands our mission. Right? Emma nodded, her confidence renewed by his words. She jumped up and called to their friends, inviting them over to create a fun atmosphere filled with games and laughter. Let us play. The more, the merrier. The contagious excitement from Emma drew in a few children standing at the edges, unsure of what to do. Jake felt a small spark of hope reigniting. As they laughed and played, he scanned the crowd, assessing the community around him. He noticed Mr. Andrews chatting with other neighbors, sharing stories that made them chuckle. Then, inspiration struck. Maybe they could turn the event into a true celebration of community rather than just a fundraiser. Jake took a deep breath and gathered everyone's attention again. Listen up, everyone. We're going to throw a potluck-style celebration. Let us share our best dishes, have some fun, and cut those cookies. The buzz of conversation grew louder with collective energy. Faces lit up with appreciation, and whispers of excitement replaced the earlier anxiety. Emma, how about the cookies? We can sell those too. He suggested, wanting to bring back that sparkle in her eyes. Yeah. Let us make a cookie race. She shouted, eyes shining bright with enthusiasm. They quickly set up a table for the cookie sale, and the crowd rallied. Neighbors came together, bringing out their own signature dishes and treats, all donations for the cause. Laughter filled the moment, and soon the air was thick with delicious aromas. Jake watched as children decorated cookies, each one a new masterpiece of colors and joy. But as they embraced the unfolding warmth, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of dread that still hung over him. He had to figure out what had happened to their donations. When Mr. Andrews approached him later, sensing his unease, Jake confided in him. Mr. Andrews, we lost a lot of what we raised. I don't know how to explain it to Emma. It feels like I let her down. The old man placed a comforting hand on Jake's shoulder. You haven't let anyone down, son. You've brought us all together. That's worth more than any amount of money. As they spoke, a spark of malevolence came into focus. Someone felt off, lurking in the shadows. Jake's heart began to race again. Was someone really trying to sabotage this event? Suddenly, Emma ran up, cookie crumbs lining her cheeks. Daddy, look! We made our first sale. At that moment, amidst the whispers of gratitude and renewed hope, Jake's heart soared. Maybe they could still salvage this day. But questions swirled in his mind: who could have been behind the tampering? And would they see the true spirit of their community rallying around them? His resolve solidified. Whatever it took, they would uncover the truth and keep Emma's dream alive. Together, they had unleashed something beautiful today, but soon, they would need to face what lurked behind the scenes. With every smile and laugh, the crowd began to block out the doubt. But the unknown threat loomed overhead. Would they find the strength to embrace the challenge, or would fear overshadow their triumph? Jake stood on the sidelines, watching the beautiful chaos unfold. The laughter of children filled the air like sweet music, and even the adults were caught up in the moment, their worries easing as they mingled and shared stories over steaming dishes. Emma's joy radiated, lighting up the gathering like a beacon of hope. Yet, beneath the surface, Jake's heart raced, a persistent knot of anxiety tightening in his stomach. He decided to move among the tables, checking in with neighbors who had contributed their favorite recipes for the potluck. He made small talk, grateful for their support, but his mind was elsewhere. Each friendly smile he received masked an underlying tension. Who had sabotaged their fundraiser? The thought gnawed at him. Hey, Jake! A familiar voice broke him from his thoughts. It was Sarah, a neighbor whose famous chili had always been a crowd pleaser. Thanks for bringing everyone together today. This is just what we need. Jake forced a smile. Yeah, it's turning out to be quite the event, isn't it? Absolutely. I heard about the issue with the donations. But look around. This community is behind you. You've done an amazing job. Thanks, Sarah. But I can't shake the feeling that someone's out to ruin this for us, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. It was a risk to share that fear, but he found comfort in her presence. Maybe we should check on the donation box, she suggested, her brow furrowing. You know, just to be sure everything's all right. His heart skipped. Good idea. Let us go. Together, they made their way to the designated area where donations had been collected. As they approached, tension curled its way back into Jake's stomach. Sarah stood by as he opened the box, anxiety coursing through him. But what he found made his heart drop. The box was empty, not a single item left inside. Panic surged. Where did it all go? The community had promised to support them. Why wouldn't they? As if sensing his distress, Emma tugged at his arm. Daddy, can we do the cookie race now? Everyone's waiting. He plastered on a smile for her sake, but inside, dread settled in like a heavy fog. Sure, sweetie. Let us get to it. As he helped her set up for the race, he noticed a group of children clustered together, whispering and giggling. Intrigued, he approached them. What is going on here? One of the kids spoke up, we're waiting for the cookie race. But we also made a new game, guess the mystery ingredient. Another child chimed in, and we're selling surprise bags. People can take one home. Jake was taken aback. You came up with all this yourselves? Yep. And all the money we raise is going to help Emma. They chorused, grinning widely, his heart swelled. In that moment, he saw not just kids having fun but a community redefining what it meant to support one another. They weren't just strangers at a fundraiser, they were a family. He knelt down to Emma's level, her small face alight with excitement. You know what, kiddo? Your friends have a great idea. Let us do it together. As they gathered the supplies for the new game and cookie race, laughter erupted, drowning out Jake's lingering fears. Maybe they could work through this. Perhaps, just perhaps, strength lay not in the money but in the spirit of togetherness, but as the races kicked off and the children cheered, Jake's eyes offered one last search of the crowd. A flash of shadow shifted among the trees. Someone was watching them. Who was it? And what did they want? The sense of looming dread returned, reminding him that their battle wasn't over yet. Jake's heart raced again, but this time it was not only from anxiety. Images of the gathered community, the joyful children, their laughter bursting like firecrackers in the summer air, battled against the unsettling feeling creeping up his spine. He took a deep breath and focused on Emma's bright eyes. Ready? He asked, holding her small hands in his. She nodded eagerly, her excitement contagious. The cookie race kicked off with a loud cheer. Clusters of children took off, racing around tables, their giggles ringing out like pure joy. Jake couldn't help but smile as he watched Emma dash into the fray, a bright red bandana tied around her head. She was a little tornado of energy, her carefree spirit drawing the attention of everyone around. Still, that feeling of being watched lingered. Every so often, he would glance back toward the trees, half expecting to see a familiar face lurking just out of sight. But there was nothing there, only the reassuring sight of neighbors rising to support one another, chattering happily under the sun. Jake! Sarah's voice broke through his thoughts again. Look at her go. Yeah. She's having a blast. He replied, forcing himself to put away the unease, but then, a soft chime broke through the laughter. A bell, faint but clear. Jake's eyes widened. It wasn't just kids playing anymore. It was a sound he rarely heard these days, the sound of hope. He turned his gaze towards the makeshift stage where a few adults had gathered, holding up signs for a silent auction. They were smiling, genuinely thrilled to give whatever they could: baked goods, handmade crafts, even coupons for services. Maybe we can turn this around, Jake murmured to himself. The energy was shifting. As the cookie races continued, Jake joined in to help with the auction. Who wants to bid on a homemade pie? He raised his voice, spurring the crowd into cheers and laughter. The excitement was infectious. Bids started flying from generous neighbors. But just when Jake felt the high spirits lifting him, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. The man he'd seen earlier, lurking by the trees, stepped forward, his face hidden beneath a worn baseball cap. Fear gripped Jake tightly. The newcomer approached with slow, deliberate steps, eyes locked on Jacob. Heard you could use some help. Jake felt his stomach twist. Who are you? Just a guy who knows what it's like to feel lost, and still needs a second chance. I have something to share. Jake's heart raced. He was torn between skepticism and hope. Could this stranger really offer help? Emma and the other children were unaware of the tension brewing. They were busy organizing their next activity, busy spinning around in circles, lost in joy. Let me explain. The man's voice was low, earnest. I know about your fundraiser, about the donations. I can help track down what went missing. He hesitated, then added, and maybe even give more than a few bucks. Jake clenched his fists. Why would you do that? What's in it for you? The man inhaled deeply. Sometimes you just want to do right by someone, and help them when they need it most. Before he could process this man's words, Emma tugged at his shirt. Daddy! Can we sell some of my cookies next? Please! She flashed her biggest smile. Jake looked down at his daughter, her eyes sparkling with excitement and innocence. He wanted to tell her everything was all right, but the stranger's presence shattered the calm. The world around him seemed to dim, the laughter faded just a bit. Would he take a leap of faith or push this stranger away? Daddy, please! Emma urged, her little hands wrapping tight around his arm, pulling him back into their world. Jake's heart wrestled between doubt and the yearning for a miracle. A decision loomed. Could this moment, filled with laughter and joy, withstand the weight of uncertainty? What would Jake choose? Jake felt the weight of Emma's eager hands pulling him back toward her, toward the laughter and the warmth of the community around them. Her innocence was like a lifebuoy in the stormy sea of doubt swirling in his heart. He didn't want to let fear cloud this beautiful day. The man stood there, watching, waiting. Those eyes beneath the cap were full of something. Was it sincerity? Something inside Jake flickered. What if this stranger was truly telling the truth? He glanced at Emma, her face radiant with excitement, oblivious to the tension thickening in the air. Just give me a moment, Jake said, turning from Emma back to the stranger. What do you know? The man took a step closer, and the crowd faded into the background, their laughter becoming a distant hum. I've seen things in my life, things I wish I hadn't. I want to make up for those mistakes, and today seems like a good start. He paused, swallowing hard, his voice almost choked with emotion. I know who took the donations, and I know where they are. Jake felt a cold bolt of adrenaline shoot through him. You know who did this? Why should I trust you? Because I know what it's like to lose faith in people. I didn't always make the right choices either, the man replied, every word heavy with the weight of lived experience. But people deserve second chances. At that moment, he looked over at Emma, then around at the supportive faces of neighbors who had come together to help one another. Maybe this was one of those rare opportunities to open a door instead of slamming it shut. Taking a deep breath, Jake felt himself wavering. What will it take to get your help? Jake asked, feeling his heart soften a little. Just give me a chance to prove it. If I can help find what belongs to you, it would mean the world to me, the man said earnestly. And if this community truly matters, then maybe helping you will help me in ways I can't yet understand. Jake rubbed his temples, he needed to think. Emma, meanwhile, was jumping up and down. Can we sell the cookies, Daddy? Her voice broke through his thoughts like a ray of sunshine piercing through clouds. He looked back into her hopeful eyes, and for a moment, he felt the hesitation start to crumble like sandcastles under the tide. "Okay," he said, almost surprised by his own words. "Let us hear what you have to say." The stranger's face lit up with unexpected relief. "Thank you. Meet me after the auction. I can explain everything then." Jake nodded, still unsure but resolved to give this man a chance. With that, he turned back to the sounds of jubilation. Emma's joyful squeals broke his reserve, and he squeezed her hands, a smile returning to his face. "All right, little one. Let us make your cookie sale the best one yet." As they moved back into the rhythm of the festivities, Jake felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. He let Emma take the lead, excitedly guiding him to the table she'd set up with colorful cookie jars and a banner they made together only days before, but the weight still settled in the back of his mind. The promise of answers and possible reconciliation with that stranger loomed like a thundercloud over what should have been a joyful occasion. Could this really lead to the answers he desperately sought? As laughter echoed around him, Jake took a deep breath, ready to meet whatever came next. Yet a nagging thought surfaced, threading through his mind. What if the stranger was right about second chances, and what if, in seeking justice, he was risking too much? "Guess we'll find out soon enough," he murmured, glancing back at the man who was already fading into the crowd again, and somewhere, deep down, Jake knew he would have to confront his own demons to bring peace to himself and his daughter. As the party continued, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the park as Jake and Emma set up their cookie stall. The aroma of freshly baked treats mingled with the sounds of happiness that filled the air. Children squealed on the swings nearby, their laughter ringing like music, chipping away at Jake's lingering doubts. He plastered a bright smile on his face, one that mirrored Emma's bubbly enthusiasm, but inside he felt like a rubber band stretched too tightly. Could he really trust the stranger? What if this turn towards hope led to heartache? He shook the thoughts away, focusing instead on the playful chatter of his daughter. "Look, Daddy. We can pick out whatever we want for the sign," Emma exclaimed, her fingers skimming over colorful markers as she began to design the banner. "How about we write best cookies in the world?" "Sure, but let us also add help us help others," Jake suggested, surprised by his own optimism. Her youthful excitement was infectious, and he found himself laughing as she modeled a serious face while writing the words. Once the banner was complete, they stood back to admire their handiwork. It was sweetly chaotic, colored outside the lines, just like their life. "Let us show the world how awesome these cookies are." Emma grinned up at him. Her joy made Jake swell with pride. He had wanted something better for her, a sense of community, a chance for laughter amidst chaos, and this day felt like a blend of hope and renewal. With a determined nod, he set the cookies out on the table. The colorful jars sparkled under the sunlight, and he couldn't help but feel a swell of warmth as people began to drift towards them. One by one, neighbors approached, exchanging smiles, laughter, and stories about their own families. With each cookie sold, Jake's heart lightened. Their little stall was not just a means to collect donations, it was a bridge, connecting him back to the community he had almost lost touch with in his solitude. But as the day wore on, Jake found himself glancing towards the entrance of the park, his heart fluttering in anticipation. Would the stranger come through? Would this truly be the chance to reclaim what was lost? Just as he was about to lose hope, the man appeared, moving with purpose through the crowd. Jake felt a swirl of emotions: curiosity, fear, and a flicker of hope all danced within him. "Hey!" the man called, his voice cutting through the excitable chatter. Jake's stomach tightened. "I'm here." Emma dashed over to tug at Jake's arm. "Can I help him, Daddy?" Just a second," Jake replied, unwilling to let the moment slip away without weighing his options. He owed Emma the best outcome, but he also had to consider the promise to himself. He stepped towards the stranger, feeling the buzz of the festival fade as he focused entirely on the man's expression. "You were serious, then? You have information?" "Yes," the man nodded, though he hesitated for a moment. But there's something you should know first. It's not just about the donations. Jake felt his heart skip. What do you mean? Come with me. The conversation we need to have is, it can't happen here, the man urged, his brow furrowed with concern. Every instinct in Jake screamed to protect Emma, to keep her close. No. Whatever it is, you need to tell me now. I want to put her in danger. The man stepped forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. You want to be putting her in danger, I promise. But the truth is bigger than you think. Jake felt the weight of uncertainty settle in again. The laughter around him seemed to fade into a distant backdrop. Could he take this leap of faith? Could he trust this stranger, knowing that answers lay just within reach? As he looked into the man's eyes, he grappled with whether this journey would ultimately lead to salvation or ruin. And just like that, he realized, sometimes the hardest leap is also the strongest step towards healing. Okay, Jake whispered, taking a deep breath. Let us talk. But as he turned to gather Emma, he had no idea that this conversation would lead to revelations he had never expected. Jake's heart raced as he glanced at the bustling park once more. Emma was still by the cookie stall, her laughter weaving through his thoughts like a warm blanket. But the nervous energy in his gut begged to be released. Stay right here, he said firmly to Emma, even as he felt a pang of guilt leaving her side. He didn't want to pull her away from the joy they had created together, but the stranger's urgency was real. The man led Jake away from the stall, weaving through clusters of picnicking families and children darting around like fireflies. They stopped a few yards away by a large oak tree, its broad trunk creating a secluded nook. Jake looked back for Emma, where she was chatting with a group of kids who had gathered, all eyes on the colorful cookies. All right, Jake said, forcing himself to focus as he turned back to the man. What's so urgent? The man took a moment to gather his thoughts, his brow furrowed in concern. Jake, what I'm about to tell you changes everything. You mentioned a promise? Jake nodded cautiously. A promise to her. My daughter. To make things right. It's not just about good intentions. The money, the donations, they're connected to something deeper. There's a story here, one you need to know to truly help. Jake's fidgeting hands clenched tighter. Just get to the point. Your daughter, Emma. There's more to her than meets the eye. She has a gift, a light. The words caught in the man's throat, reverence pouring from them. My daughter is just a kid, Jake replied defensively. She's sweet, loves cookies, and wants to help people. That's all. No, Jake. It's not just that. She's more connected to the community than you know. People feel her kindness, her empathy, and the man paused, as if gathering his courage. There are families out there, families like yours. They need her spark. She can be a beacon for them. Jake felt the ground shift under him. A beacon? What are you saying? Emma was born with a unique ability to bring hope. People around her, even strangers, feel something when she's close. Hope, joy, even healing. It sounds far-fetched, but there are records, an unbroken line of families that have thrived because of a child like her. Jake blinked, his mind racing. You mean to say she could help people? Like some miracle child? It's not a miracle, it's a connection. What you're doing today, the cookies, the donations, it's only a fraction of what's possible. We need to harness that, channel it into a bigger vision, a community project. Hold on, Jake interrupted, panic settling in. You're telling me I should put my daughter out there as some savior? That's not what I want. The man took a deep breath. I'm not suggesting you put her in danger or on a pedestal. But if she understood her power, if you both embraced it, think of how lives could change. The world has enough darkness, she could shine a light. Jake's heart thudded painfully in his chest as he absorbed the enormity of those words. Could that really be true? She was just a girl, his girl, with dreams of cookies and community. As doubts flooded his mind, he glanced again at Emma, her laughter floating towards him, bright and genuine. The feeling of hope he had first fostered returning, albeit tinged with fear. "Give it time, Jake." The man watched him closely, gauging his reaction. "It may feel like a heavy burden, but you're not alone in this. We can support you, help her navigate this journey." Suddenly, Emma shouted from the stall, waving. "Daddy! Look at the cookies. Come try them." The world faded around him. For a moment, all that existed was the sweet joy in her voice. "Maybe this is the chance we need," the stranger urged gently. "But you have to decide, are you ready to embrace what she can become?" Jake's insides twisted as he realized this could reshape everything. Without a clear answer, he stood there, feeling the weight of his fatherhood, his love, and the uncertain future that lay ahead. He knew one thing amid all that confusion: whatever this was leading to, there was no turning back now. What would he decide? Would he take that leap, or would fear win? His eyes drifted back to Emma, illuminated by the sun, unaware of the potential that shimmered just beneath her surface. "Daddy!" she called again, grinning with delight. The moment hung in the air, suspended between choice and anxiety, and just like that, Jake realized that this journey was only beginning. Jake felt the weight of the man's words settle heavily in his chest. He turned slowly, the frenzied laughter of Emma washing over him like a gentle wave. She had always been his light, but now it seemed he was standing at a crossroads, and the path was cloaked in shadow. "Jake?" The stranger's voice broke through the haze of his thoughts. "It's not about fame or glory. It's about hope. This gift isn't just hers, it's meant for your family and so many others." "Hope," he murmured, unsure how such a beautiful word could feel so daunting. He wanted to fuel Emma's dreams, not place her under the burden of expectation. "Come on, Daddy. You have to see this one." Emma shouted again, her fingers stretched toward a massive cookie decorated with sparkles. Jake felt a tug at his heart, as if she could sense his hesitation. The stranger continued, "She needs to know. You both need to understand her impact." With a deep breath, Jake turned back to face Emma, who was bouncing on her toes, eyes wide with excitement, her joy so infectious that it felt impossible to resist. He felt the stirrings of determination battling with the fear gnawing at him. Perhaps it was time to trust, to believe in the good that still existed in the world. "Okay," Jake said, almost too softly. "What do we need to do?" The man smiled, a flicker of relief washing over his face. "Together, we'll help her harness her gifts. We'll show her how to share her light without overwhelming her." Jake nodded, but doubt still clung to him. "How do I even explain this to her? I don't want to burden her with the weight of any expectations. She's just a kid. You won't. You'll share the journey together. Children have a remarkable ability to rise to the occasion when they find purpose. All she needs is your guidance and encouragement." As Jake listened, he felt something shift. The way the sun poured through the leaves of the old oak felt different, alive. It filled him with warmth, propelling him closer to Emma. He walked back towards her, feeling a new resolve start to bloom within him. As he reached the cookie stall, Emma launched into a cheerful account of the cookie creations, her face beaming. "Can you believe the colors, Daddy? It's like magic." Jake knelt beside her, taking in her unfiltered joy, her innocent excitement lifting the veil of uncertainty. "It is magical, Em. But there's something even bigger we need to talk about." Emma's brow knitted with curiosity, suddenly serious. "What is it?" "There's a chance for us to help more people," Jake began, choosing his words carefully. "You have a special light, Emma. You can touch people's hearts." Her eyes widened. "Like magic?" "Yeah, like magic. But it's real and it matters. Are you up for that, kiddo?" She paused, the wheels of her mind visibly turning. After a moment, her face broke into a grin that could light up the darkest of rooms. Yes. I want to help. Jake chuckled, relief sweeping over him. Okay, then let us get to work, little spark. As they started to brainstorm ideas for their cookie project, laughter flowed freely once more. Jake felt an overwhelming sense of unity, as if a shroud had been lifted. Maybe this was the opportunity he had been waiting for, a chance to ignite change not just for Emma but for their entire community. But just as they poured their hearts into exciting plans, Jake noticed a shadow approach. The stranger who had shared the news stood back, observing them with a knowing look. His gaze hardened as if he recognized an impending storm. "Jake," he said quietly, his voice tense. "No matter how bright the light, shadows will always loom." Jake glanced up, a knot forming in his stomach. Questions raced through his mind. What kind of dangers could be lurking? Were they truly prepared for what lay ahead? Emma turned to him, her trusting smile brightening the moment, but Jake's heart pounded with a suddenly heavy pulse. Would their newfound journey come with sacrifices he hadn't anticipated? What shadows lay in wait for his little beacon of hope? And just when he thought he could grasp the edges of the path ahead, life threw another curveball at him. The day had dawned with radiant sunshine, casting playful shadows in the park as the community gathered around Jake and Emma's cookie stall. Their bright banners swayed gently in a warm breeze, proclaiming, "Help us help others." Children laughed and giggled while families shared stories over treats and baked goods. The air buzzed with excitement, as if the whole world was conspiring in joy. Jake watched Emma bounce around, her innocent laughter a melody wrapping around him, pushing out the lingering doubts. "Look at this one, Daddy. It's a cookie engine," she exclaimed, holding up an odd-shaped cookie decorated with pretend wheels and colorful sprinkles. "It's amazing, Em. Just like you." "I wish I had your creativity," he replied, his heart swelling with pride. But amid the laughter and warmth, the stranger stood watch, his eyes piercing through the crowd. Jake's stomach clenched. What more could this man reveal? Suddenly, he felt a gentle tug at his sleeve. It was Mr. Andrews, their kind neighbor. "Jake, you two are doing a marvelous job here. Have you thought about making this a regular event?" "Really? You think so?" Jake's spirits lifted at the idea. Could their little fundraiser turn into something bigger? Emma's eyes sparkled with dreams yet unwrapped. "Absolutely. Just look at how everyone is coming together. We need more of this, more community, more kindness." That idea hung in the air, glistening like sunlight dancing over water. Jake exchanged a hopeful glance with Emma. "What do you think, kiddo? Should we keep this going?" "Yes, yes, yes." Her reply burst out like fireworks, shattering the tension in his heart. Just then, a wave of energy coursed through the crowd as families began to gather around the makeshift stage where the silent auction unfolded. Neighbors were enthusiastically bidding on donated items, pottery, even a local restaurant's gift card. Each raised hand reigniting joy and goodwill. The chatter turned hum as Jake checked in with Emma and an unexpected voice emerged through the crowd. The stranger stepped forward, an earnest look crossing his face. "Jake, can we talk? I have some important news." Jake felt a chill run through him as he nodded. "Yeah, okay. But can it wait? Emma and I are right in the middle of something special." "I understand, but it's about Emma," the stranger said, his tone impassioned. Jake felt a wave of protectiveness surge within. "All right, let us find somewhere quieter," he relented, guiding the man away from the bustling noise. His heart still latched onto the warmth of the moment with Emma. As they stepped to the fringe of the park, the stranger spoke urgently. "Everything you've done is special. But there's a twist in this. Someone has targeted Emma because of her gift." Jake's world jarred at the man's words. "What do you mean? Is she in danger?" "Not now, but there are those who feel threatened by her light, the potential she brings." Fear immediately flicked at his insides, but he pushed it aside, determined to stay focused. "So, what do I do? How can I protect her?" Let her shine, Jake. But be vigilant. People may fear what they don't understand. As he spoke, Emma's laughter rang out like a distant bell, sweet and full of hope. She stood amongst the crowd, her radiant spirit effortlessly drawing people in. Jake moved to head back, torn between revelation and rising protective instincts. Wait. Promise me you will keep an eye on her, the man urged, his voice steady but urgent. Jake nodded, fear intertwining with instinct. I promise. He had always envisioned shielding Emma from harm, but now he viewed her light through a different lens. It wasn't hers alone, it was a shared mission, a love that bloomed through community support, acceptance, and kindness. As he returned to Emma, joy washed away his worries. She was right there, surrounded by neighborhood kids, gleeful eyes wide with excitement over decorating more cookies. The stranger might carry the weight of dire tidings, but now Jake understood the importance of community, of shared dreams, and the power of Emma's vision, her gift. Hey, Em. He called, as he watched her sprinkle more colors onto a fresh batch of cookies. Ready to spread some magic? Always. She beamed, her spirit gleaming like the sun overhead. Jake knelt, wrapping an arm around her small shoulders, feeling the world spin just a little brighter. Let us not just help those in need today, but keep this light alive. Together. As the sunset began to blanket the park, their laughter rang out among neighbors, drawing them into what was undeniably a family forged in unity. Beauty blossomed in the small moments, hope, kindness, friendship, reminders that even shadows couldn't stand against the brilliance of togetherness. Hand in hand with his daughter, Jake embraced the unpredictable journey ahead, ready to face whatever the future may bring. Let us do this. He declared, standing tall together beside Emma, their hearts linked by shared determination and knowing their dream of a brighter tomorrow could shine, unyielding against any darkness. That if that wasn't enough, little did they know, the truest magic was still waiting just around the corner. Now, this is where you come in, my amazing friends. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next incredible story. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these tales alive. I want to hear from you. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heartwarming transformation. Let us spread the light together.